The New Year's mistake. It was December 31st, and I should have been excited to ring in the new year with Samantha, my girlfriend of 2 years. But instead, I was stuck at home, battling a miserable case of the flu. I told her to go out and celebrate without me, assuring her I didn't mind. Have fun for both of us, I'd said, trying to sound convincing despite my croaky voice. She'd hesitated at first, suggesting she stay home. But when her best friend Chloe called, insisting she come to Mason's party, she finally gave in. It's just a few hours, she'd said before leaving, kissing me on the forehead. Get some rest, okay?
Samantha's perspective. I had felt a pang of guilt as I closed the door behind me, leaving Luke curled up on the couch, his pale face flushed with fever. But Chloe had been insistent. You can't let him ruin your night, Sam. It's New Year's. You deserve to have some fun. I wasn't sure I agreed, but part of me craved a break from the monotony of tending to Luke's illness all week. Mason's party, the energy was infectious, glittering decorations, upbeat music, and the bubbly laughter of friends. Mason greeted me with a warm hug, his smile lingering just a bit too long. As the night wore on and champagne flowed, I found myself drawn into his easy charm. Started innocently enough. A shared joke, a dance, a moment on the balcony away from the crowd. But under the glow of the city lights, the tension shifted. He leaned in, and before I could fully process it, our lips met. A wave of regret hit me instantly. I pulled back, muttering an apology before fleeing back inside. I spent the rest of the party avoiding him, but the damage was done. The guilt gnawed at me as I rode home in the early hours of the morning. I told myself it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment fueled by the festive atmosphere. But how could I face Luke now?
I spent the evening dozing in and out of feverish dreams, the muffled sounds of the city's celebrations filtering through our apartment walls. Every so often I checked my phone, hoping for a text or call from Samantha. But the hours stretched on with nothing. The next morning, I woke to the soft hum of the TV still playing in the background. My fever had broken, and for the first time in days, I felt somewhat human again. Samantha was asleep beside me, her breathing slow and steady. Relief washed over me as I watched her, grateful she was back home safe. How was the party? I asked when she stirred awake, my voice still hoarse, but filled with curiosity. She hesitated for the briefest moment before replying. It was fine, she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Something about her tone fell off, but I didn't press her. Instead, I leaned over and kissed her forehead, thankful to have her by my side. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Samantha seemed distracted, lost in her own thoughts. She'd smile and laugh, but it felt hollow, like she was going through the motions. I chalked it up to post-holiday fatigue and tried to brush it off, but the nagging doubt lingered. Then one evening, Chloe came by to visit. The two of them chatted in the living room while I stayed in the bedroom, giving them space. But snippets of their conversation drifted through the door. Chloe's voice was hushed but urgent. Sam, you have to tell him. He deserves to know. I froze, my heart pounding. Tell me what? I strained to hear more, but their voices dropped lower. When Samantha finally came to bed that night, I couldn't bring myself to ask her what Chloe had meant. The fear of what I might hear kept my mouth shut. The truth came out a week later, not from Samantha, but from a mutual friend who had been at Mason's party. I bumped into them at the pharmacy of all places, and after a bit of small talk, they mentioned the party. Man, Mason's balcony was the spot for secrets that night, they said with a knowing smirk. Samantha and Mason were getting awfully close. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I managed to keep my composure long enough to finish the conversation and leave, but as soon as I got home, I confronted Samantha. What happened at Mason's party? I asked, my voice steady but cold. She looked at me, her eyes wide with guilt. Luke, she began, but her words faltered. The silence that followed was deafening. Just tell me the truth, I said, my patience wearing thin. And so she did. She told me about the champagne, the dance, the kiss on the balcony. She insisted it hadn't gone further, that she'd realized her mistake and left immediately. But the damage was done. The image of her and Mason together was seared into my mind, and no amount of apologizing could erase it. The days that followed were a blur of pain and confusion. Samantha tried to make amends, promising it would never happen again. She said all the right things, but the trust between us had been shattered. Every time I looked at her, I saw Mason's face, heard her laughter on that balcony. I thought about leaving, about ending things then and there. But I also thought about the life we'd built together, the moments of joy and love that had defined our relationship until now. Could I throw all of that away over a single mistake? Or would staying mean sacrificing my own self-respect? In the end, I told her I needed time to think. I moved into the guest room, putting physical distance between us while I tried to sort through my feelings. Samantha respected my space, giving me the time I'd asked for. But every night, I heard her crying softly through the walls, and my heart ached despite everything. New Year's Eve had always been a time for fresh starts, for setting intentions, and looking ahead with hope. But now it served as a painful reminder of how fragile love could be. I didn't know what the future held for Samantha and me, but one thing was certain: we couldn't go back to the way things were. Whether we stayed together or went our separate ways, this was a scar we'd carry with us forever. And as I stared out the window at the city lights, I couldn't help but wonder if some wounds were simply too deep to heal.